Shut up and sit down.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends, wherever you are. This is episode number 19 of the Baseball and Beer podcast. I am your host, Brendan Bose, and for the last almost 20 weeks, I am bringing you around the world, or at least around the country, or maybe just here in Massachusetts, but I'm going over two of my favorite things in the whole world, that is baseball and beer, sharing my opinions on them, giving you some ideas, thoughts, pictures on my blog, so on and so forth. If you've been on this ride, I appreciate it. If this is your first time, sit back, sit down, and enjoy. It's been a busy week for me, so let's hope I could get this shit started correctly. So before we move forward, I did mention that I had a blog earlier. If you are curious as to what it is the Baseball and Beer podcast.blogspot.com. Let me try that again because I think I put an unnecessary word in there. Baseball and Beer podcast.blogspot.com. That's the website where the blog is located. It is where you could go to find previous episodes and share any thoughts you have if that's your place of choice. I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you're lazy, go for it. So, one of the things that I've been doing over the past week, or even 2 weeks, I know I've talked about video games before here, so I feel kind of confident about mentioning it here. Recently bought Until Dawn on the PS4, and I want to give it my recommendation for anyone who is on the fence on getting it. It is a very interesting, stylistic version of a horror movie that you get to play yourself, if that makes sense. Basically, what happens is that there's a group of 8 friends that usually travel to a winter lodge up in a mountain every winter. Quote-unquote, last year, 2 of them died or were considered missing or, something along those lines. And the brother of the twins wanted to take or spend the following year, the 1-year anniversary back up on the mountain to basically celebrate their lives. And, as a way for him to, get feel better and move on. So a bunch of stuff happens, and it's a lot more interesting than how I'm describing it, but maybe I can tell you guys on the way it's played. It's interesting because it's one of those games where you get to you basically play as everyone. It's played out in scenes, basically, and each scene you control a certain player, and you control what they say to other people, certain actions that they do. I mean, you don't get to control what they say, down to every single word, but you're given, at certain points throughout the game, you're given options of what you can say to someone, what you say to them, how you act towards them, or an action that you do, just in general, can affect the way that the game gets played, because you're affecting the way that person thinks of you, be it positively or negatively. So you could go through 2 playthroughs, choose different things all the time, and you're going to get 2 separate games, basically, just based upon the way it goes. And if you are into horror movies, this is a very good it's a good video game that's done in a horror style. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it, because there's an interesting twist that happens. But let's just say it takes paranormal and slasher movies together, I guess is the best way to do it. So I would recommend it. It's a very strong game. I mean, my only gripe about it really was that it costs too much for basically an 8-hour, 9-hour game. But, definitely get it when the price starts going down. I strongly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, especially a lot of fun when you play with friends and everyone gets to, cheer on the characters that they like, boo the ones that they don't like, and, even, voice their opinion on what you should do with everyone. So, if you want to shoot one of the players in the head, you can certainly do that. or you can save their lives. Whatever you want to do, that's Until Dawn for you. It actually it stars quote unquote stars Hayden Panettiere, the cheerleader from Heroes. It stars Peter Stormare, the VW guy. He's also known as that guy in pretty much every movie ever made. If you saw his face, you would know him. And I forget the actor's name, but it also has Agent Grant Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, amongst others, there's the guy from Mr. Robot. I don't know him from anywhere else, but, if you know him, more power to you. I just don't. So, a couple of other people. Again, everyone does a really good job. Really strong recommendation to buy it. If you have the money to throw down now, certainly go for it. If not, I would certainly wait until the price goes down.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. And stop.
So like I mentioned before, this past week was really busy for me. One of the big things that I did is I actually helped Tom in brewing some beer. You guys remember Tom from the round table the last 2 weeks. Like I said, they brew a lot of beer. So we went ahead and we brewed what's basically a pumpkin wheat. Basically, if you remember the previous talks about, the basic beer process, what we did is that we threw the pumpkin chunks, I guess is the terminology. I don't know. Basically, the pumpkin guts into the mash when we were making the spurge for the wort. So that's where we put it in the process. When we tested it, while testing the gravity, it tasted good. Pumpkin wasn't necessarily the heaviest, but I liked it, and we just are now in the process of fermenting it. There's also a possibility of quote-unquote ghosting it. Throwing in some lactic acid or lactic, whatever, and then and some salts to give it the ghosty flavor without souring it up. So that's what we are doing at the moment. I will certainly let you guys know how that comes out. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it so far tastes delicious. So let's make sure that alcohol comes into play and give you a final word for it. Also, before I forget, we also used your traditional fall spices, kind of like a mixture of cinnamon and nutmeg and so on and so forth. So that's what we got in our beer. You may know it from, any other pumpkin beers that you had, but this one's ours. So deal with it. Speaking of fall beers, there was something I wanted to talk about. I know I've said that I'm not the biggest pumpkin beer guy, and if I haven't, there you go. I'm not the biggest pumpkin beer fan guy, but there are a couple that I do really like. So I guess if you are curious as to what you should pick up if you've never really been able to indulge in pumpkin beer, let me give you some advice, because I'm a good guy like that. So one of the things I really don't like in pumpkin beers is the fact that they all try to be too sweet. And I don't mean that in the Bullet Club type of sense. I do mean that it's literally too sweet. Like, there's a lot of sugar in there that there shouldn't be. I know people like to get away with throwing, like I said, when we made our beer, cinnamon, nutmeg. I don't even know any others. But, people want to use them liberally to really add in that autumn feel to it. But to me, it makes it too sweet. I don't like it, which is strange because, I can like sweet beer. I just don't like it when it's supposed to be pumpkin, because there's really what's the word I'm looking for? A not sweet taste of pumpkin. And that's what should be sticking out when you have pumpkin beer. And that's just me. I recently had one for the first time maybe last week, a little before that, from Two Roads Brewery, which is actually a little bit further south here in Connecticut, at least where down by where I grew up at least by the sound. Can't believe I stumbled over my words like that. But it's from Two Roads. The name of the beer is, follow me here, Rhodes Mary's Baby. Play on everyone's favorite horror movie. And like I said before, when a lot of breweries, tend to sweeten up their beer, pumpkin ales, these guys don't. They actually understand that pumpkin is supposed to be more of a solid tasting, I don't want to say bitter because that's not what I meant, but like somewhere, I guess if you're looking at the two extremes of bitter and sweet, it's supposed to fall closer to bitter, but not overly such. So I guess there should be a little bit of sweetness to it. I guess I wasn't really, ignoring it. It just shouldn't be the extreme that a lot of these places do. But like I said, Rosemary's Baby does do pumpkin beer right. I had it for the first time, like I said, a couple weeks ago, and it's a very solid beer, very solid pumpkin ale. That is a pretty good place to start if you are a beer fan but haven't really been able to try any pumpkin beers. At least if you want the actual fulfillment of having pumpkin beers, Two Roads is definitely one to take a look at. The other one I would strongly recommend is from Dogfish Head. It's their Punking Ale. P-U-N as in Nancy, K-I-N. This was really the first pumpkin ale that I actually enjoyed. Since, like I said, it's not really my bag, but pumpkin ale is an exception to the rule. It was fantastic the first time I had it, and it's, that euphoria of good taste just never left. It's still there. I haven't had this season. Let me rephrase that. I have not had any of their new, oh god damn it, third time's a charm. All right, so I have yet to have pumpkin ale in this our year 2015. So I probably should remedy that. But as for now, I'm just going by all the previous other years when I've really liked it. So it is good stuff. Again, they stick with the bitter taste more than the sweet, but they found that line where it's perfect, much like Rosemary's Baby did. They keep the cinnamon at a minimum, they keep the nutmeg at a minimum, but you can still taste it, still appreciate it. It's just not the only thing you taste. So again, if you're looking for some beer, I think pumpkin ale is more readily available than Rosemary's Baby, as Rosemary's Baby is just a local brewery in Connecticut, where even though Dogfish Head is considered craft, they do, manage to distribute a lot further than Two Roads. So definitely search out pumpkin ale. It comes in a 4-pack, and you will enjoy it. And the third and final beer that I will be recommending is from Southern Tier. It is their Pumpking, P-U-M-P-K, P-U-M-K-I-N-G, Pumpking. This one definitely starts leaning more towards the sweet type of pumpkin ale rather than the bitter one, but it's... If I had to choose one of those, it'd definitely be this one from Southern Tier. It's sweet. There's, your cinnamon, your nutmeg. Pumpkin is it tastes more like a pumpkin pie than anything else. So if that's your thing, then certainly go for it. Again, it's not one I really enjoy, but if I had to recommend one of these to you guys, then this one would be it. So, keep an eye out for Southern Tier Pumpkin, and between those three beers, you should have a good idea of what a quality pumpkin beer should taste like. Otherwise, I can, I don't think I'll ever be shipping any of the beers that I help brew out, but you never know. So I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe on this list eventually will be the pumpkin wheat that we're brewing, so keep an eye out for that, or ear open for that.
Single, double, triple, home run. For the celebration, I'll shoot my gun.
So baseball season's almost coming to an end. Did you realize that? We have less than a month left before the playoffs start. Mathematically, the White Sox are still in it, but, they suck, so fuck them. They're not going to go in. But with the end of the season comes the end of the season awards like MVP, Cy Young, Manager of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, blah, 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 Rookie of the Year. So I wanted to throw this out there. If you guys want to email me, baseballbeerpodcast@gmail.com, mail me what you guys think about this. Certainly in the next week or so, I'll probably be going over my thoughts, and certainly take what you guys take what you guys say into consideration. Definitely think there's going to be a lot to talk about for some of these, but again, baseballbeerpodcast@gmail.com. Send me your thoughts. So the big non-White Sox baseball thing I wanted to talk about today was over the weekend there was rumors running rampant about the Mets putting a inning cap. Let me try that again. The Mets were putting an innings cap on Matt Harvey, their stud young pitcher from a couple of years ago, who recently came back earlier this season from Tommy John surgery after missing all of 2014, and I think some of 2013 as well, but it comes with the surgery. Anyway, this is the same thing that happened with Steven Strasburg after he returned from Tommy John. He was pitching really well. Never missed a start. It got to the point where the Nationals, enforced the cap rule, the inning cap rule, shut Strasburg down for the season. Nats make the playoffs. They don't have Strasburg pitching at all. They promptly get beaten in the champion NLCS, I think it was, where they could have certainly used him. And to put the knife in the wound a little bit deeper, Nationals haven't been back in the playoffs since. So there's been a lot of talk about the importance of putting an innings cap on someone who's coming back from major surgery, such as Tommy John or shoulder surgery or something along those lines. Here's what I think. If you are a major league pitcher making millions and millions of dollars for a baseball team that's making possibly billions of dollars, chances are they should have a really good medical staff. With that medical staff, they should have the ability to treat the pitcher after every outing, make sure that everything is looking up to par, and potentially see any future issues that may come from due to the surgery. That's just one way to look at it. The second is that if you're adamant about an innings cap for a pitcher, don't pitch him in the middle of the season, or don't pitch him in games that's not going to matter. Mets are looking at certainly having a playoff run. Let me see where they stand, because I know they're in first place. I know they're first place over the Nationals. It's just a matter of how much. Let's see here. Okay, they have a 6-game lead over the Nationals. They've been kicking ass for a long time, so the odds are looking pretty good that they're going to make the playoffs. With that said, they also have a really good starting rotation. With Syndergaard, Jacob deGrom, even Bartolo Colon, even though he's not what you call a stud pitcher, he's still having another good year for whatever reason, however that works. Sometimes you just don't question it. But right now the question is, do you shut down Matt Harvey once he reaches his innings limit? I wouldn't. I would be a lot more adamant about either shortening his starts. Don't let him go over 4 or 5 innings regardless of pitch count. I would also just pull him. Use a 6th starter if you need to. It doesn't really matter because you need your players when you're in the playoffs. It's kind of pointless to sit out your best player or one of your best players just because he threw an X number of times, and that X number of times is considered the medically safe number of innings to pitch, because a lot of research goes into, what happens between that 70th pitch and that 71st pitch. I'm shaking my head. I mean, like I've said forever now, the Mets are the team that I want to win in the National League because of their pitching. Obviously, their pitching is their strong point, and they are really handicapping themselves if they decide to pull the plug on Harvey for the season. But, I mean, that's why I'm not a GM, because apparently, Tommy John surgery calls for inning limits, which it still doesn't make sense. You would think that the Mets would take the hint that the Nationals gave them, 3 or 4 years ago. Strasburg, he hasn't really been great since then, but he was spot on that year, the year that they pulled him, shut him down for the season. I don't know, it drives me insane. So I guess let me pose this question to myself. If the White Sox are ever in the playoff hunt, Chris Sale, he's not exactly injury prone, but he's not the healthiest person in the world. If the White Sox decided to put an innings cap on Chris Sale, I would be against it. He's had questions. His delivery had been questioned since the get-go, and he's kind of gotten over the hump where you would expect something to happen. There'd be some fallout from his really goofy, awkward, wind-up. But that's not the case. He's still pitching strong. I'd want my good players playing in the playoffs because it's such a small sample size that you want to put yourself in the best position. So Chris Sale puts the White Sox in the best position. Steven Strasburg would have put the White Sox in a good position. He would have put the Nationals in a good position to win the World Series. Sitting Matt Harvey for the Mets is not a good idea. Right now their rotation is Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Harvey, John Neese. That doesn't make sense. And Bartolo Colon is number 5. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where I want the Mets to do well. Before I was a White Sox fan, my dad took me to a bunch of Mets games when I was growing up, so I do have some sort of sentiment for them, and it's just I know a couple of Mets fans, and they always feel like that they're a laughing stock, which they're not. It's slowly becoming the White Sox, but that's neither here nor there. Matt Harvey is a good pitcher. You want him on the mound. You want him on the mound in the playoffs. You want him on the mound in the World Series. That's all there is to it. As they say, flags fly forever. I'm pretty sure if you told Matt Harvey, you can either play for 5 years, win your World Series, make some money, but, be injury plagued after that time and not play. But you get your World Series. Or if you tell him, you play for 15, 20 years, you make a lot of money, make the playoffs a handful of times, but you never win the World Series. Can't speak for Matt Harvey. Actually can't speak for most pitchers. But, it's... I don't know if we've passed that time period where players are more concerned about money than winning World Series, but I would like to think that Matt Harvey would err on the side of, I have my World Series ring, I'm fine with whatever the future holds. So, the 1986 Mets are, they're hoping for another win, and to do that, they need Matt Harvey. So that's I'm not a big fan of innings limits on anyone. I feel like that's probably the most traditional thing about me. Obviously, as an advanced statistics guy, that sort of thing shouldn't really matter. But, back in the 20s and fucking 1950s, pitchers were pitching, 200 innings regularly, 300 innings, that sort of thing. So it just seems wild that nowadays people are trying to clamp up on what pitchers can throw, which to an extent I agree with. Certainly don't want to lose someone to a stupid injury if you can prevent it. But on the other hand, you have to think that if you're making the playoffs, you want your players to pitch. So, bottom line, Matt Harvey should pitch. Do it, Mets. Do what I say, because I know you're all listening. And let Matt Harvey finish off the season and let him pitch in the playoffs. And that does it for episode number 19 of the Baseball and Beer podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening to me for 19 episodes, plus whatever I'm going to be putting out in the future. Just as a reminder, if you would like, as I said earlier this episode, if you want to reach out to me and let me know what you consider to be the Rookie of the Year, MVP, Manager, Cy Young, Comeback Player, Bunt of the Year, Home Run of the Year, whatever you want. If you want to let me know what you consider those, certainly reach out to me, baseballbeerpodcast@gmail.com. You could certainly tell me at the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/baseballbeerpod. My Twitter is the same as the Facebook, @baseballbeerpod. And obviously, if you want to go back and visit the website to listen to previous episodes, certainly go there, baseballandbeerpodcast.blogspot.com. Again, this is episode number 19 that we just put in the bag. My name is Brendan Bowes, and I thank everyone for listening, and have a great weekend.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited.
Awesome.
I do not like Julia Roberts movies.